I kept working. I went to school and then came back, worked for another 4 years, and then I decided to go back to school. And there were a lot of personal reasons for that. I was going through a lot then. I was dealing with, and it was kind of to escape a little bit. And so I came back down here to go to school, and did 2 years of school in music.
That was after psychology.
Yes.
Okay.
And simultaneously running my piano tech business. I was tuning and doing repairs as well.
So it was kind of getting you through school while you were doing it.
I had a lot of connections down here. My parents went to school down here. They had a lot of friends. The first time I went to school, I worked for the school doing piano tech work, and I already built up a very small clientele. But what happened when I came back was word got around, and I got to the place within 2 years. I was at a place where I was like, I got to figure out what I'm doing here. Like, why am I doing school? What is my plan? Because
Yeah, and what's that what's it going to get you on the tail end?
exactly,
Yeah.
like, where's
Not to say like you don't get something from school,
paying
but
$20,000 a year for school,
it matters, you know.
and then you're not going to go into an industry. In fact, what it looked like was I would just stay being a piano technician, which is kind of, I'm not sure where I was headed. I think I came to school because I needed to get away from where I was, simultaneously being in a place where my piano tech business was going to thrive.
Right.
I don't know that I knew that it was going to thrive like that. But I already had a small base here. I had the right people
Yeah.
rooting for me, getting my name out there, and I was doing work for a lot of really good teachers. And
Yeah.
so I had...
Well, and it's one of those things that like you don't go through neighborhoods and knock on doors. Like, do you need help? Do you need your piano repaired?
Right.
It's like, if you need it, you need it.
Right.
And if you don't need, like, you know, that was the thing about insurance that didn't cater to my personality was, well, everybody's a potential client. It's like, yeah, but do I want that?
Yeah.
Like, do I want every single person
Yeah.
that is alive to be
Yeah.
a potential client? It's like, you know, I had thrived in an industry that was relocations, you know, moving and storage. And so you weren't convincing somebody to move if they weren't moving.
Right.
And so it's like that in itself is like, you know, going to get the best opportunities and getting people to refer their clients to me in the real estate world and apartments and, you know, different things. Like, that was my job.
Yeah.
You know, and then just you know, once I met with people, it was making sure that I sold myself, you know, and understood the industry, understood what they, you know, that kind of thing. And so,
well, you're understanding what people want. And
Yeah.
and I'm actually, I'll tell you, when I was in my piano tech business, I had done very well. I quit school. I worked part-time landscaping while I was doing the piano work, just to fill in the gaps. And then I got a huge account, a school, had a lot of pianos, like a $30,000 gig a year.
wow, yeah.
And so that was great. Like, literally quit landscaping. I was like, I don't need this. I'm already making X amount on individual clients. And then I've got this big contract. And then a couple years go by and I start dating, and that big client was having financial struggles and dropped me.
Ooh, yeah.
And it was a third of my business.
Yeah, wow.
And
So overnight.
Yeah, overnight. And I was getting ready to get married, and I was like, this isn't going to work. You know, I went from, you know, 90,000 a year. Well, no, it wasn't 90,000 a year. It was less than that. Whatever it was, 60,000 a year. A little bit more than that. I can't even remember now. But it went down to 30,000 instantly.
Wow.
And So I was like, well, that's not going to work. So I'm like, then it became okay. I've got to find. I had never advertised, so I was like, I was just like, I had the best possible world at that time, which was the word of mouth was like a wildfire. I didn't
Right.
have to advertise. I was just going at it. But then I was instantly put in a position where it's like, well, either I need to get a part-time job or I just need to get business quick.
Yeah.
And so I tried a couple advertising things, made big mistakes with that. Settled in on Google Ads, which was a very good decision for me.
Was there a lot of competition out at that time?
I would say that there was not a lot of competition.
Okay. Was there a lot of, like, even within the competition you had, was there were there a lot of those guys that were putting money into that, into either Google Ads or like
No,
the online space?
there weren't.
Okay.
Because there weren't a lot of them in the first place. There
Yeah.
were not a lot of
Well, and that
piano
the average age probably played a factor in that too.
Yeah.
You know, either they had built up over time and they just didn't even.
Yep.
They
So-
had built up before the internet space was even.
Right. So some of it was
utilized.
that. A lot of them had listings. Some of them were even advertising through Google Ads. But the way I went about it was I searched piano tuner near me and looked at the top things that came up. First thing was Google Ads, which are your sponsored ads, and then Google listing. And then after that, there was Angie's List, Thumbtack, and some. Actually, Thumbtack was next. There was Angie's List, which I highly discourage anyone from ever doing.
Angie's List.
Oh my goodness, it's a scam. It's a scam. I don't care what they say. I
Was
lost
it just for that industry, or have you heard that about like other industries, like where it
for
just
Angie's List.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Across the board.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. In fact, if
Interesting.
they call you, they have another branch of the company now, and they'll call you and say, "Yeah, we got a lot of that. We're trying to fix that. We're trying to do this or that." And I just don't trust them. I
Yeah,
basically
there's like a sales side, and then there's an apology side.
yeah, and
of
when
the company.
yeah, it's like some other companies we can mention, but I basically have told them that you can return the money I spent there, and then I would consider it because I would say you're actually doing. It was over $5,000 I lost.
Wow.
And it's because what the salesman told me was different than what they were actually giving me.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And so,
Because I actually saw like, and this is maybe a different period of time, like because I think Angie's List kind of had different stages. But in the relocation industry at that time in the Asheville market, it did okay.
yeah,
It actually was kind of a good. This was like, gosh, what year was it? Maybe 2012 or 13, something like that.
I think in some,
I don't think it was changing like people's lives,
Yeah.
you know, like at the company.
Well-
but I mean, it was, you know.
so I think in some industries it works better because it's not. So, for example, I use Thumbtack, and some people
Okay.
will be death on Thumbtack. But the advantage I had on Thumbtack is I only got good clients. Like every client that wanted their piano service was a good client. Like I wasn't, it's not like the construction renovation where like I could literally pay $1,000 in Thumbtack leads and only get one
Gotcha.
that would work.
Yeah.
Because it's somebody who reaches out to me who has their son kicked a hole in the wall. And Thumbtack is taking a huge cut of that. And then it would cost me more to drive out there than I could actually charge them to
Gotcha.
do it. You
Yeah.
know? That's not a good contact for me.
Yeah.
And so like in that industry, you could just like poke a hole in your bucket and lose tons of money
Gotcha.
on it. But in the piano tech industry, a Thumbtack lead, as long as you have the right parameters, is a good lead.
Gotcha.
It's not
yeah.
a bad lead. So it was very little loss using Thumbtack for that.
Gotcha.
So, the way I use Thumbtack now for construction renovation is I don't I don't make my account public. And I go and look at leads and I reach out to people on leads that I want. And if they say yes, great. If they say no, no loss. If they say yes, I owe Thumbtack whatever the cost of that lead is, but at least I paid good money for it.
Sure.
So Angie's List was set up at that time. I don't know if it still is. Was they pitched it to me as a monthly service. So I was paying $400 a month for
No
the
matter
service
what.
with some not a guarantee, but they're like, there's 150,000 opportunities on Angie's List in this area. And he actually told me that I could drop out at any time, which is true. But the problem is you have to pay, I can't remember what percent it was of the total annual.
Gotcha. So part of the contract, like yeah.
So it ended up being like $5,600 I had to pay to get out, which I did pay because I'm a principled person. And I was like, you're scamming people and I'm not going to stay here.
Yeah, I would
And they're
rather.
like, well, you might as well stay here for at least till you get that amount. And I'm like, no, I'm not
not
doing
going
that.
to do that. Yeah.
So basically, when they call, I just say, "You give me back my $5,600, and then I'll talk." Because that shows me that you've kind of turned a moral corner
Right.
in my mind. Did a
Yeah,
moral
kind of
U-turn.
recognize like the issues and like
Yeah. But until then, I'm not going to fall for your little scam.
Yeah.
Even if it's not a scam, it's like fool me once, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I'm
Yeah,
not
kind of
gonna do
learned that lesson
Yeah.
already.
So
yeah.
anyway, I just looked at the first things that came up in my Google search. And I said, I need to get on Google Ads, and I need to have a Google listing, and I need to have a Thumbtack account. And people need to see me as the first person in each of those places. Because what people see on their screen, on their phone, is going to be the first two. Because, leads, they'll show you like 3 different leads.
Right.
The first top 3, and then they have their ads.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's all that fits on your screen. So basically, I wanted them to see my name multiple times. The interesting thing is with Google Ads is on the listing, they will also have the ad. So they have their Google Ads up here attached to either website, or it doesn't even have to website, it could have phone number, whatever.
Some kind of landing page.
And
like,
then their
yeah.
Google listing, you would have little AD for ad, and then all the other listings underneath. So what I did was I got a listing. They work just like any other social media platform in that the algorithm works to your favor. So you post pictures, respond to reviews, make sure you're sending your clients reviews. And I'll say this, you were talking about selling, you need to sell yourself to a client. That is why you need to sell yourself to a client, is because you need to get reviews. And I've talked to a lot of people who say, how do you get people to give you reviews? I send people links all the time, and they don't send a review. And I'll tell them, you did not make the right kind of connection with them. They'll say,
Yeah.
well, I feel like I got along with them fine. Like, I don't feel like there was any bad blood. I was like, ironically, people only waste their time if they feel like they've made a connection with you that goes beyond you gave them a service and you were a nice person.
Yeah, it's like that's kind of the bare minimum expectation.
Yeah. Like a lot of
That
my
you
clients
do what you said you were going to do,
Right.
and then you know.
when you have a relationship with a client where they text you on a regular basis, not about what you do, you've established a kind of relationship with somebody who's going to waste 5 minutes of their time writing a review.
Yeah. Well, it matters the way you ask too.
Absolutely.
And the way you communicate that
It
that
does.
want, you know.
It does matter how you ask, but I just use whatever stock. I've always just used whatever Google's put together. I've never sent a text and said, "Hey, so and so, would you mind writing me a review?" Or, "I had a great time today. Would you mind writing?" Never had to do that. That was implied in our previous meeting.
Yeah.
Like you establish that. I call it an emotional transaction. People need to share something personal about themselves. You have to return by sharing something personal about yourself.
Gotcha,
This is
yeah.
a thing in psychology and behavioral psychology that happens all the time. The act of giving something to somebody actually establishes trust. And ironically, it's different than just me giving something to you. The person giving actually establishes trust for themselves. So, like, if you say, "Hey, would you hand me that?" and I go, "Oh yeah, sure," I hand it to you. That actually does more for me.
Oh,
Ironically,
wow.
it's interesting how that works.
Yeah, that is interesting.
So when you're interacting with people, there has to be this transaction that happens. And unless it happens, and I'll tell you, this is part of the story, is that I'm getting ready to get married, and my income is cut down by a third, and I've got to get that up before I get married. And I've wasted a lot of money on advertising, and I did some things right, but I didn't know what I was doing.
Right.
And at this point, there was a point at a coffee shop. I'm sitting in Bridge City
Okay. Yeah.
on Wade Hampton, and I've got my head in my hands, and I'm like, how am I going to do this? I'm already frustrated that I lost a ton of money through Angie's List. Literally, like, that's was a huge blow to me because that's a lot of money, and I'm sitting here worried about my future family, and
It's like you're standing in front of a
somebody
mountain.
stole money from me,
Yeah. You're standing in
and
front
I
of a
feel
mountain.
like an
and
idiot.
Yeah, it's like it takes 30 minutes to climb it, but you've got 10
Yeah,
minutes.
I feel
It's
like a sucker, right?
How in the world is this going to happen?
Not only how can I provide for my family, but now my wife is my fiance is going to marry an idiot on top of that. You know,
Yeah.
like
I
she
hope you like
deserves
ramen
better than that.
noodles.
Yeah, I know. I hope you like macaroni and cheese because
Yeah.
that's what we're living on for the rest of your life. So I'm sitting there, hand in my hands. It's like, how do I get my business? Where does my business come from?
Yeah.
And of course, the blaring answer, which is everybody will tell you, is word of mouth. Your best clients, the majority of your business is going to come from somebody saying, "Hey, you got to hire this guy." Did it run out of juice?
Not the phone, but
No. But the mic.
the mic. Interesting.
Do you know when that happened?
I don't know when that happened.
Oh man.
But I think it would have taken over.
Oh yeah, it would have flipped.
You think it would have?
I would think so.
Okay.
We can go back and check.
It is now, at least.
Yeah. I mean, well, let's just keep going. Let me check my wife's probably.
Because we're going on 2 hours.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. It happens fast. Yep. 5 minutes later, it's been 2 hours. Okay, so I think it was at the 1 hour 55 minute mark.
Okay. Wow.
So we can like go and cut that out.
Yeah. So business was like, it was exponentially had risen, and actually I think it was the following year that I had read Profit First.
Okay. So
And-
explain a little bit about Profit First before,
Yeah.
just to-
So Profit First, like if I was to kind of bring it down, and I would just tell anybody, if you don't like to read books, get the audiobook, and then you
Sure.
can get on his website and actually see all the pictures from the book and what he's talking about. And you can listen to his podcast. He has a podcast.
Yeah,
But-
because he's done some things with people in the accounting world, probably naturally. Just
Oh, definitely.
Simply
Oh,
because
yeah.
the nature of what he teaches.
Right. So he basically teaches a envelope system
Mhm.
for businesses with bank accounts.
Right.
So
To where, yeah.
if you don't know what an envelope system is, it is building a budget, and in the old days, this would have been like my parents' parents. They would take, and the way they would build out a budget is they would allocate a certain amount of money for each budget item. If it was groceries, maybe a mortgage, perhaps clothing, and so on. And they would take that amount of cash and they would put it in an envelope with that designation on it. And they could only spend that money for that thing for that month.
Mm-hmm.
And it basically tied their hands. They couldn't spend, I mean, once it was gone, right?
Right.
And if you had money in at the end of a month in any category, you could either put it in savings or you could spend it on something else.
Right.
And that's how the envelope system works.
It's like anticipating the expenses.
Yep.
And not just on the expense side, but anticipating the expenses you're going to have to pay, so that you can pay yourself immediately.
Right.
So that you don't have to wait until everything's paid
Right.
and then just take whatever's left.
Right.
You can actually pay yourself first,
Mhm.
so hence the name Profit First, knowing that you've set aside enough for all the expenses
Right.
that you have to pay.
Right. So what Mike McCowitz basically recommends is you have, and a lot of you who are watching this may not even know what these categories mean, and that's okay. Again, bookkeeper is a good way to get an education in this. But basically, we have an account for income. That is everything that comes in goes through that account first.
Yeah. Like
We deposit,
deposit
check,
account.
cash, whatever a client gives us for a job, deposits, it all goes into that account. And then from that account, it gets dispersed into different accounts. One account is cost of goods sold. That is where all of our materials are going to come out of in our renovation company. And we have a budget for a project. And we take out of that deposit, we take that amount, we put it in there so that we have money allocated to that is only spent for cost of goods sold.
Yep.
And then in another one, we have our business expenses, and that's going to come out of the surplus. So
Yeah. So whether that be like software, fuel, whatever,
the
operational
printer,
cost,
whatever you're using for your business, that it comes out of there. Tools would come out of there, and then we have payroll.
Yep.
Uh,
Which not only is like W-2 employees, but what you're going to pay to contractors.
Right. And actually, we created another account. We took it a step further. We created an account for just subcontractors. And it's called subcontractor account. Because we have some contractors that we pay, they buy materials in the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
And so when they bid something out, we know what they're charging us. We'll take from our income account when we get paid a deposit. We'll put what it costs to hire that person in the subcontractor account, so we don't spend the money that he's owed. And some people may say, there's a lot of people I've met who push back against this method, and more often than not, people that push back against it push back because they don't like somebody tying their hands. But I can tell you, almost in every case that I've had somebody tell me that, they are also the kind of person that has people chasing them down for their money. And they live under a lot of stress because they have 5 different subcontractors who they owe thousands and thousands of dollars to that want their money, and they haven't been paid for 6 months, a year.
Yep. And then you're in a situation where you're trying to pay that money out of the income you're making from the next job. You're paying the last job with income from the next job.
Right.
And I mean,
that's the I would say
how
that's
common.
the norm.
How common would you say that is?
I think it's the norm.
Okay.
I think it's happening all the time.
Okay.
Like I think
most guys operate that way for years,
and they just live with the stress of it.
Yeah.
And they'll pay off the guy that knocks the hardest. Like,
right.
Whoever's putting up the most stink, whoever's actually gone to file a lawsuit, that's the fire they're going to put out first. And they live like that constantly. And what's crazy is like, and this is what I'm reminded of, is that I've now seen different people go through this process of hiring a bookkeeper, an accountant, and putting some trust and faith in them. Where once the bookkeeper, accountant, you pay that initial fee for them to clean up your books, right? Like, let's figure out this mess. Once that's over, which I think is well worth whatever they're charging, the amount of peace of mind that comes from knowing that you may not have any money in the bank to pay your bills, like your personal bills. You may not have that, but like, it's not that stressful. It's really interesting how I'm not as stressed. Even maybe I need work so I can pay my bills, but the level of stress you have when you have to pay your bills and everybody else's is like, I don't know how some of these guys live with that kind of stress. I was a partner in a company several years ago, and we had been under that kind of stress, and my health was breaking down.
Yeah.
And part of that's because I'm a person who really loves people. And so for the idea that somebody's working for me and I can't pay them,
gosh, yeah,
is heavy, heavy stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
And along with that, knowing that I'm having financial struggles even with my personal finances because the company is going under because we're not tracking our money and we're doing some things that are unconventional. That's a level of stress that I think some people get used to it, but if they actually got rid of it, they would get part of their life back that they never knew they could have had. Like, it would change their life forever.
Yeah, and I mean, not only that, but like the way that you make decisions is going to change.
Oh, everything's going to change.
Yeah, one of the best things about the way we made decisions whenever we started out was the fact that we had an income meant that we got to make the best decisions for the business instead of the best decisions for today.
Right.
We got to look ahead and think, we're solving problems that don't exist yet. Well, we're kind of solving problems that are going to exist in the future,
Right.
because we didn't have to depend on the next
Yeah.
dollar that came in.
Right.
And living that way from the beginning is huge.
Yeah.
The way that you're talking.
Yeah.
I mean, we experienced that when we got married. That we said no to so many things because we only had one income.
Yeah.
And that young, you really can't do a lot with one income.
No.
And so when the people we knew were getting bigger houses and new cars and all this stuff, we were like, I can't even imagine what life would look like if we did that, because we wouldn't be able to, the stress that it would cause on the opposite end of that would be astronomical. It's like, I don't understand how you enjoy any of the things you have whenever you've so over leveraged that it's like, I can't even imagine.
Yeah. No, I'm the same way in that. And some of it is that, I can say I grew up in a home where they had no debt. My parents had no debt.
Oh, wow.
They paid cash for everything. And so there is a part of me that experiences stress on certain things that most people are just used to. That's life for them. They don't know that the stress is there until it's gone.
Right.
Having a mortgage is extremely painful for me.
Yeah, because of what you were conditioned to growing up.
I was conditioned to not owe no man anything.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Don't be a slave to the lender. I grew up that way. I always had money. I worked my tail off.
Yeah.
One of the things I talk about with this whole area of, I call it internal marketing, but basically word of mouth, is that the way I grew up, which was right, was you work hard and you'll succeed. You work hard, you're respectful, you're a productive human being, and you'll have no lack of work.
Yeah.
And that's true. That's very true. But once you get to a certain place, that's not enough to take you to the next level.
Right.
I learned that I needed to be proactive in my relationships.
Yeah, exactly.
I also learned that not everybody knows that you're a hard worker and that you're honest and you have a good reputation. They don't know any of these things about you.
Yeah, you don't see that on Google.
Yeah.
On a Google listing.
And you might see a review. You might see reviews, and you might see what people say about you. And people are going to go off that. And I've got my own theories about some of that. And why somebody who chose my listing over someone else is not just because I have a 5-star rating and 30 some reviews, and somebody can have an equal amount and still call me first. And the question is, why are they calling me first? And I think there's a level of emotion in a review that causes people to say this is different than this over here.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But all that to say is that I learned that you have to create context for people. Is that it's that people have no context. They don't know you. They don't know your work. They don't know what you do. Because they don't know what you do, they don't know that you do it well. And they will never know that you do it well. If you're a plumber, they called you because they don't know anything about plumbing.
Right.
That's why you're there. They don't know if you're good. They don't know if you're a good person. They don't know that when you turn around, you're not going to steal something off their shelf. They have no context.
Right.
So somehow in this brief meeting, I have to establish a level of trust that somebody will go out of their way to say, this is a good man and this is an honest man.
Yeah.
And I want everybody should be using this guy.
Right.
And the best compliment I've gotten in our construction renovation was this lady, a compliment, it was a referral. And what she told the person was, you need to use them and you need to pay whatever they're asking.
Wow, yeah.
She basically
and it's because you created that context with the person beforehand.
Yeah.
And it's because, there's a big difference between going and selling and going and solving problems.
Yeah.
Like when you're going to solve problems,
Yeah.
then you'll do what it takes to solve the problem. If you're just going to sell, then you're going to go sell for what you need to make and put in your pocket. And there's a big difference, and people recognize that.
Yeah.
You know, like I think of a situation where we had a leak in our roof, or we thought it was we assumed it was a roof.
Right.
And I put in a new downspout on the gutter. I chased this leak forever on my own because I'm just naturally just going to do that.
Right.
And I called somebody out to take a look at it, and he's like, hey, I can seal up all these, shingles and whatever.
Right.
Well, I didn't realize he was just going to put a bunch of tar on the roof, and so afterwards I was like, what the heck did you do, man? Like I didn't tell him that, but and so it kept happening, and I called him back and I'm like, dude, it's still leaking. Like, can you come and take a look? Like, and so he sealed up a bunch of other stuff, still leaking.
Just cover the whole roof in pitch, man.
Exactly. Yeah. At least it's going to be
fixed.
And so I called three or four different roofing companies, and I just wanted to understand like what was going on. Yeah. Well, like all but one of them wanted to sell me a new roof.
Yeah.
First off, that's what they wanted. They wanted to sell me the entire roof. The second thing, because the first thing that they're looking at is like, man, how old is this roof? And I'm like, it's about 6 years old. And like, really? And I'm like, really? It's like, it's not that old. Like, you want me to think it's old, because you want to sell the roof. Like, I get it, but one of the other guys wanted to cover the entire, re-shingle that entire part of the roof. I'm like, maybe we'll have to do that, but like I don't want to start there. Like I want to try to figure out what's going on. Well, finally a guy goes up there and he's looking around and he's like, hey, we can, do a couple of things, but really what I'm seeing is that you've got 3 nails under the bridge of your roof that have come back out. And that's where your water's getting in. And, for $50, I'll just seal them up. I've got sealing right here. And I'm like, take my
money. Done.
Yeah, just do it, done, and if it doesn't work, I'm going to call that guy back.
Yeah.
Because I know that guy isn't just trying to sell me something. He's trying to help me solve the problem I've got.
Well, and he's not making a sweeping judgment. So the guy that went up and put tar on the roof is like, maybe I'll hit it,
Yeah, hopefully.
He doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah, exactly.
He's just saying, it looks like it's coming from somewhere in this area, vicinity.
Yeah.
So let's cover a 2-foot section with tar and maybe we'll hit it.
Yeah.
Whereas the other guy was saying, this is a problem. Like, I don't know if this is where it's leaking from, but in this scenario, it would leak. So let's fix this.
Yeah.
And you're more likely to call him because he's got a solution for a problem.
Right.
But like, I think what I've learned in business is, again, I steer away from, there are several things to earn trust. And like I say, I think the first thing is this emotional transaction. You need to connect with people on a level that's personal. That's the first step, I think, to trust. The second step is establishing a knowledge base. Like, the way people decide whether you're knowledgeable is based on the questions that you ask them. So,
right.
I got a lot of jobs just by asking people a lot of questions. And I literally had people say, we chose you because you asked a lot of questions. Because they assume that if you're asking a lot of questions, then you know enough about what's going on structurally and behind and what's happening to ask questions that are very specific. So we got a kitchen job, and you would know the job if I told you the name, because you would have seen it. But we got this kitchen job, and when they hired us for the job, the wife said, we hired you because of the things you were concerned about.
Yeah.
She's like, you went up in the attic, you were looking at all the rafters and what direction they were going, and you were looking at, because we were going to be putting beams like 4 beams in this house, and rafters were going all different. The ceiling joists were going all different directions.
Wow. Yeah.
In the house, and which, when you're talking about load, is a nightmare.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to figure out, okay, which walls are load bearing, and then you're saying, okay, what kind of support do we need, and where does it need to be? And I'm underneath the house looking at what supports under the house. She goes, we hired you because you're the only ones that did that. So we had already established a relationship with them through, she had a dance studio, and we talked through all that kind of stuff. And you try to relate with people on that level where you get them excited about what they're excited about, and then you try to relate through your own experiences that are similar to theirs. But then you have to establish yourself as a professional. It's this extra level of trust that is like, not only do I really like this person, which is where trust starts, even though it maybe shouldn't, that is where it starts for most people.
A lot of people vote that way. A lot of people decide all kinds of things that way.
And
I'm curious, like, how much longer did it take for you to go to the attic and the crawl space? Like, what? How much extra time did you put into doing that?
It wasn't extra.
It wasn't that much.
No.
Yeah, so like that minimal amount of extra care.
I think they had to pull a car out of the garage for me to get up in the attic.
Yeah, I mean,
but the inconvenience on their end,
15 minutes.
Yeah, so the inconvenience on their end was actually an investment for them. Like the fact that I was like, can I get in the attic? They're like, well, it's out in the garage, and I think there's a car parked underneath it. And I'm like, do you mind moving the car? I really need to get up there. Like, that level of inconvenience, which is I have to see what's going on here, was an added investment to them. Like, they're like, oh, of course, and they pull the car out, and they watch me go up in the attic, and I spend time up there, and I'm talking to Lucas, and I'm saying, this is interesting, we got this going on. Oh, look at this. This is actually not structurally sound. We need to fix this if we're going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So they had a situation where there's a beam going across. They had a big living room on the other side of the kitchen with vaulted ceiling, and they had 2 beams going across to hold the weight of the roof.
Yeah.
And there was a single 2x4 on either side holding those beams up.
Oh my gosh.
And not only that, like the load, when we took all the sheetrock off and we were doing the job, the load wasn't even transferring directly down. Like you should have a direct transfer of load all the way to the floor, and ideally all the way to your ground, a footer.
Yeah.
There was no transfer of load.
Wow. Gotcha.
And so we're like, we have to fix this stuff. Now, the investigation, and this is why I encourage anybody to do a lot of investigation on the front end. And if you can convince a client before you give an estimate, go through the whole process of picking everything out and doing the whole process. Some people charge for that, and that's okay. I think that's good. Go ahead and charge for it.
Mm-hmm.
But that process sells them too. Like, you build this huge relationship with people. You're sharing numbers. They see numbers. They go out and pick out a top. Like, people don't realize they can spend anywhere from 99 cents a square foot to like $200 a square foot for tile.
Right.
Like, when you bid out a job and you're like, here's a budget for your tile.
Yeah.
Right? The client doesn't have a context for that.
Right. Which is why you're there.
Right. And I can't tell you how many of my construction buddies, and this is the worst thing, like, you want reviews, you want word of mouth, but you create the worst possible scenario within the process, which is at the end of the job, they owe you more money than you bid out.
Mm.
And if there's one thing that everyone hates, they hate fees, they hate increase in the budget. And I'm not saying that the contractor wasn't justified in those things.
Yeah.
No, he probably was. Like, definitely you shouldn't be doing extra work and not charging for it.
Sure.
But the problem is these guys go and bid out a job, then they get the job, they start the job, and they say, you know what, the load's not right, they didn't have support in the right place, we're gonna have to do this, it's gonna be
so like how much of that could have been resolved on the front end.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
even how easily could it, like,
Exactly.
Yeah.
So somebody picks out a tile. Well, it's actually $2 a square foot over the budget, so we got to charge extra amount. So as we're doing projects, it's ticking up, ticking up, ticking up, and then we've added a third of the total project to it. And somebody's going, "Wow, man, why is this, man? Ooh, ouch!" It's so the whole process is painful. We get to the end, and we're hoping along the way we don't run into any serious issues where the client's upset. So we've got bad feelings the whole way through. And then at the end, we're like, "Hey, would you mind referring somebody to me?" And telling them you enjoyed this horrible process.
And you pass this nightmare to your neighbor.
Yeah. And
but to solve that, it only takes a couple of different choices along the way.
Well,
and like an adaptation,
right?
To
so initially, it takes very minimal time to do a thorough scope, right?
Right.
The problem is people don't want to go into attics. People don't want to go into crawl spaces. People don't want to look deep because it's annoying and inconvenient. People don't want to get dirty. With a large company, a lot of times the guy going out doing the estimate is wearing a really nice pair of jeans and a collared shirt, and he doesn't want to get dirty.
Mm-hmm.
So he takes a few pictures of the space, and the numbers that are given are not based on any possible outcome, except for the ideal outcome.
Yeah, it's like if this goes perfectly, this is what it's going to cost you.
And some of this is a strategy on their end, which is let's get them to bite on the job, and then we'll deal with all this stuff on the back end.
Yeah, because I guess the thought process is that, like, if there's something that's going to go wrong, that something is going to go wrong, whether it's me or whether it's any number of contractors that are out there doing the job.
But what I've discovered is if I'm transparent with somebody, and I go into the job saying, "Hey, look, we do things a little different." Mm-hmm. My goal in this project is not only to make your vision come to life,
right,
but I want you to have the best possible experience you can have. I want this to be, I would do this over again because you made it easy.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like painting the picture of the end from the beginning.
Right.
So that in their mind, you've already solved the problem that they have right now, even though you've not even stepped foot in there with your guys.
So what I will tell them is, if you're willing and you have the time, let's take a few weeks getting all the details so that the numbers are clear. Mm-hmm. There are no surprises. And the other reason is so that I can be setting up subcontractors and scheduling everything, getting it so that we can have a very smooth process. Because that's the other thing. You start a project and you're like, yeah, something's on back order, or it won't be delivered for 2 weeks, or my painter can't be here for 4 weeks. And so a project that should have taken you 3 weeks takes you 5-6 months. And I think as business people, and I get it when you're young in your business, like you just started it, you need income.
Right.
You don't have the time to sit here and just wait for 6 weeks for something.
Yeah.
But I would say, and this is the thing, and you saw this at the beginning of our company, we got deposits. Don't be afraid to ask for a deposit and say, look, we'll start the job 6 weeks from now because cabinets are going to take 6 weeks to come in. But in order to get through this process, we need a deposit. And here's our material cost. Can we get a deposit for materials? Never had a problem. I had one person like, can I give you a 5% deposit? And I was like, no, here's the amount of materials. Unless you want this job to last 3 times as long, we want to be able to get materials right away. We'd rather materials sit for a couple of weeks than wait a couple of weeks on materials.
For sure.
And most people are amenable to that. They are like, yeah, that's what I want.
Yeah. And setting that expectation makes a big difference.
Right.
Yeah, the same for us. I mean, there's only one time that somebody has not wanted to like pay up front.
Right.
Which is one thing in this industry like you typically
Oh yeah.
typically do.
Yeah.
and it was because in their industry, the construction industry, it's like, well, it's always net 30, it's all, whatever. And I'm like, I mean, I get that in that industry. Like, we're talking apples and oranges here.
Right,
It's
right.
just a little bit different,
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's how you got into.
So I got into piano work, and I kind of explained that. But
Yeah.
what happened is when my wife and I got married, one of our goals was we wanted to get into real estate.
Okay.
And not buying and selling, but Airbnb, renting.
Okay, like short-term rentals.
Either
like
short-term
holding on
rentals,
to something
yeah,
for a while.
Yep. And one of her students' parents was in that, and I actually went and I was tuning their piano, and he came out and he was talking to me, and we were talking about business and everything, really jiving well. And he goes, I've been looking for somebody to run my property management company. And he's like, so if you know of anybody who would kind of fit that bill, that's young and kind of has some energy, let me know. And of course, like, I'm instantly thinking, dude, I'd really like to do this. In my head, and I'm tuning while he went off and was working, and I'm like really thinking about it.
Yeah.
And he came back, and I was like, you said that, I'm kind of interested. And he goes, well, that's kind of why I said that.
Oh, gotcha.
So he was kind of proposing it, but he didn't want to put pressure on me. And so we met a couple times, told my wife about it. We was like praying about it, because it was within our goals. It was like right in line with what we were trying to get, and it was really high up on that list. And prayed about it. And I really felt like this is what we should do. And my wife felt the same way. The day I told her I was going to tell him yes, she tells me we're pregnant.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm like, wait, am I making the right decision? So I told him yes. I went and started working for him. The whole time I actually still had the piano stuff, and I was trying to figure out what to do with that.
Yeah.
Sell it, do something. I did end up selling it. But I went cold turkey. I was getting a salary, so it was easy to cold turkey. I actually took a pay cut to take that job.
Oh wow.
Pretty significant. Came in to a train wreck.
Oh man.
Which is why he was hiring me, and I knew it. Like, he told me up front, he had somebody that was working on that side already, and they weren't very organized. Things were a wreck and a mess, and we were evicting people every month, and it was becoming quite a heavy ordeal.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what he hired me for. I came in, started looking at stuff, trying to figure things out. One of my jobs was to hire a maintenance person. I hired a maintenance person, and it was quite the crazy thing. I was having to learn property management from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
I had to get my license, so I was working on that. I got my license. And what I learned, actually, I did learn real estate really well in that side. But what I learned was you need to pick your partners well.
Right. Yeah.
And
if at all.
I had no budget.
Yeah.
Not like he had unlimited resources, but like I was supposed to do great things with nothing. I had nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
And it got to the place where I just couldn't. In that time, I worked only a year. And in that time, he acquired 300 properties.
Oh my goodness.
All at once from one seller.
Wow. So he bought a whole portfolio of...
He did.
Wow.
And I still hadn't cleaned up the mess that we were dealing with when I came on entirely.
Yeah.
They had opted out of using systems the way they're intended to be used because they couldn't figure it out. In the middle of all this chaos, I was like, there's got to be a way to do such and such. And I asked about it, and I was told, oh, it doesn't work well on this program. We couldn't get it to work. We don't want to do that. Towards the end of working there, I actually decided that was not a good enough answer and went and investigated myself and learned that things were done wrong and that it was
Gotcha.
perfect system for what we needed. And it was going to cut man hours significantly.
Yeah.
So I was being discouraged from like sniffing that one out, and I went ahead and did it anyway. And I was like, no, I mean, oh, it was insane. And it turned out the 300 properties, that purchase was a bad purchase. And again, I was hired to do a certain job, and then I wasn't being allowed to do my job.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And I couldn't work in that environment in time. In time, I was so stressed out. I was like, either I need to be given the tools that I need to do this, and some budget,
Right.
or
It's like eventually the fires need to stop starting.
yeah,
Like if you're putting out fires, there should be less fire.
right.
And yet there was the same amount of fire or more fire.
We had at one point 60 open work orders, and we were putting out work orders every day. My guys were going. I have 4 maintenance guys by the time I left there, and when I left, we were between 30 and 40 work orders always on the board.
Oh wow.
That's how many we were getting every single day. On top of that, I was talking to tenants all the time, and there were some things that were like, we've got to do something about this because they're right. I mean, you'd be surprised how some people know more about real estate law than they do about normal life.
Yeah.
Renters, it's insane. You can have somebody who is can't even hold down a job, but they are legit lawyers. Like they know the ins and outs of real estate law.
Really?
Oh, it's crazy. It's amazing, actually. It's actually amazing.
That's funny. So you were dealing with a lot
Yeah.
of people that knew the real estate law and were calling you on it. Yeah. Not you necessarily, but
Yeah,
I mean they were.
absolutely.
You were the.
They're like, you need
the
to provide.
Yeah.
You need to provide these things, and they can't afford to pay rent, but they know if I try to evict them, we go to court.
Oh,
the court's going to say you should be providing them with this commodity, and you're not.
Yeah.
And therefore, you have to do this or that. And I'll be like, okay,
kind of had your hands
I
tied.
didn't even know this was going on until they stopped paying rent.
Oh, interesting.
So when I went and pursue rent, they're like, well, the heater doesn't work, or the water heater doesn't work, or this is not, we've got a plumbing problem. I'd be like, okay, I don't see it in a work order. Well, they waited to tell me
until they stopped paying.
Until they stopped paying rent because they wanted a reason not to pay rent.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And so I had to fix that before I could, and trust me, man, it can go on a long time before you get to a place where you're like, I can legally evict these people.
Yeah.
So
spent thousands of dollars and
and you're not. I say all that. I never wanted to evict anyone.
Right.
Like I would bend over backwards to be like, okay, how can we make this work?
Yeah.
And even my employer wanted us to behave. He was a Christian. He wanted us to behave graciously with people.
Sure.
The hard part is behaving graciously and then not letting people try to take advantage of you. And so
that's a hard balance.
Well, we just had to create a system by which we went through these things, and if we get to the end of it and they can't pay their rent, then we take it to the next step.
Or you're just not willing to.
Yeah. So I worked for him and for a year and was getting very anxious and stressed. I was really bad place, just stress wise. Like my health was just deteriorating rapidly, and I was looking for an out. And he had a flipping side of his company as well, and those guys were flipping our rentals. So we acquire rental, it's trash, go in, do a quick cheap flip, and then we would rent it out. my maintenance team was coming in. They were spending 6 weeks just fixing the stuff that the flipping company screwed up on.
Right. Okay.
So plumbing running uphill and crazy stuff. And it got to the point where I'm getting pressure over here saying, why do we have so many work orders? And I'm saying, well, my guys are trying to get this other property on the market because I'm getting pressure over here. Why isn't my stuff on the market?
Yeah.
And so I'm being pressured from both ends by the same people. And I was like, look, you need to talk to your guys on that and that side of the business and get them to do their job right.
Yeah.
So I'm not wasting time, because he couldn't afford for any rentals not to be on the market,
Right. Yeah.
for them not to be rented. So as soon as it was flipped, it was like, let's get it rented right now. We had a whole system in place to do that. But like when a client falls through the floor because somebody doesn't, put the subfloor in right,
Gosh.
that's a problem. Or when you have live wires exposed because
Yeah.
somebody didn't put wire nuts or put a sheath on it, well, that's a problem.
Exactly.
Or somebody taps into a filled septic tank. That's a big problem. So we had stuff happening like that every single day. So
You were trying to solve the problem and you couldn't
and I couldn't.
because, your hands were tied.
Yeah.
On both sides.
So anyway, I'd gotten pretty burnout, and I was at a place where I was like, something's got to change. I need an out. And I would have taken any job that came my way and to get out of it. But one of my maintenance guys and I were pretty experienced with that stuff. I was actually going out and doing maintenance as well. That's how bad it was.
Gosh. Yeah.
And I'm the president of this company, and I'm going out and I am putting sewer mains in and water mains and fixing. I mean, it was insane. I'm knee deep in
A septic tank.
a,
Or runoff.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so anyway, this guy and I were like, we could do a better job on these flips than those guys. And he had paid those guys $2 million in the last year
Wow.
in flips and all kinds of stuff. And I'm like, we could do that. I could do that. So we went to him, and we said, look, I think this would be mutually beneficial. I basically was honest with him. He was in that position as well. Where
For sure.
He was ready for things
You
to
felt
change.
it before you did, probably. Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. But he felt like I wasn't meeting his expectation, and I felt like I couldn't meet his expectation. And so I was like, would you be interested in us changing, me getting on that side of the business, only it'd be our company? And he said, yeah, it sounds great, let's do it. And he had us bid out one job, and that was it. We never did any work for him.
Oh, wow.
But we picked up a kitchen right away,
Uh-huh.
friends, and then a few other jobs, and it happened very quickly.
So that was the start into
That was the start into renovation.
renovations, yeah.
And things didn't work out with my partner at that time. And so that's when Lucas and I got together and started our own, and things have gone fairly well with that.
That's
It could
awesome.
go better, and obviously trying to work on that all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's super cool.
So I've been in the entrepreneurial line for a very long time,
yeah, almost your entire adult life.
almost my entire adult life. And what's interesting is people will be like, did you ever work for anybody? And I said, I probably worked for more people than most people. It's ironic because between 14 and 19,
Yeah.
I worked for a ton of people.
Gotcha. How important, like how pivotal was that experience
Which experience?
between 14 and 19 working for other people, and then obviously the experience in, with entrepreneurship in different industries and translating that into
I think it was huge.
what you're doing now?
I think, I want to be careful here, but I think parents who focus their kids on education exclusively do their kids a lot of harm.
Okay.
And I say that I look at other people who are very successful that went through the educational thing and got really great jobs and went on and they're fine. They do great, right? So I'm not disparaging education, but what I am saying is it's not for everybody. And if it's not for one of your kids, like if going to college is not going to be a good experience,
Yeah.
do your kid a favor and let them work. Let them get money in the bank, experience under their belt.
Mm-hmm.
Let them apprentice,
Right.
learn a skill, because they may never work for themselves, but they'll be the most valuable employee to anyone.
Yeah, because that's a different mindset. That's a different type of person. And I always like the way Gary Vaynerchuk talks about, like, if you're familiar with some of his stuff, not excited about language he uses. I haven't listened to much in a long time, but one of the things he would always say is like, if you're 30 or if you're even 40, like to have the mindset that you're almost finished is crazy.
Yeah.
It's like you have 40 more years. If you're 30, you've got 40 more years that you could do whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're only 10 years into this
Yeah.
thing. I mean, there is literally nothing stopping you
Yeah.
from changing every single thing about what you're doing right now,
Right.
and being able to do what you want.
Yeah.
And
Well,
even if that means go back to school, even if that means like,
Right.
you could go get a PhD at
This is-
35 years old. I mean,
the statistics are against going to school. Like the problem is that people are like, school no longer exponentially gets you ahead of the game. If I were to start working at age 14, let's say in construction, right?
yeah,
And let's say I worked through high school, and then I even worked through my college years. I didn't go to college, but I worked through my college years. There's no reason in literally 10 years that I shouldn't be the foreman in a construction company.
yeah,
Like, you think about a 10-year career anywhere.
yeah,
By that time, you should have gotten somewhere, right?
right,
So you're 24 years old and you're making $50,000 a year. That's really good, actually,
yeah, for 24,
for 24.
yeah,
In another 10 years, you should be making closer to six figures.
right,
In that time, you are still young enough that if you decided, hey, I know everything there is to know about construction, you'd better in that amount of time.
mm-hmm.
Like, my brother did construction all the way through high school and past high school.
Right.
My brother
yeah.
knows everything there is to know about construction. He could go start a construction company tomorrow. And he's a hard worker, big guy. And the thing is, he has a skill that he could always make money doing.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got a different job now, and he went a different pathway, and that's great. But learning a skill like that, and trust me, in this, I have a lot of predictions about what's going to happen in the next 5 or 10 years with AI.
Mm-hmm.
Education's going to change dramatically.
Oh, I would imagine.
I mean, there's going to be a drastic change, because what is going to be important to getting a job is going to change significantly. The jobs that are available are going to be changed significantly. Just what people can do with an AI assistant in any industry is going
Yeah.
to eliminate tons of jobs.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And that's going to change what is important in education. And so I think acquiring skills is like acquiring assets.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to acquire skills at school. You'll acquire hard worker, know how to study. Like, these are all good skills, but you're not acquiring a lot of work skills in school.
Yeah.
In fact, one of my biggest frustrations when I deal with people who've gone to school and is that they think that because they have a degree, they now know everything there is to know about their area of expertise.
Yeah.
Which I don't even know where they got that from.
I think our culture probably makes that assumption.
Maybe. I don't even know. I mean,
I think
I
it's
was always
just-
taught this is a launching pad.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Oh yeah, you probably were taught that.
What you've
But I think the
learned-
vast majority were told that, I mean, you have to go do school because that's where you're going to learn everything you need to know about this whatever degree you're getting, so then you can go do the job. So then it's put into your brain that that's exactly what's going to get you.
Yeah. Well, it's like we've told people, if you spend the first 24 years of your life learning, you'll never have to learn another thing in your life. Which is like a lie. Like
Yeah.
that's, in fact, if that's what you think, you'll be worthless to anybody.
Yeah.
Like,
Even if you have
have
less worthless as you get older.
even if you have a PhD, it's still just the launching pad of the rest of your career where you're
Right.
going to learn everything you couldn't learn in school.
Yep.
And that's the reality of it. I have met people who do not work on themselves at all after school. And I'm thinking, I would never hire you. Because I'm not interested in hiring somebody who doesn't care about learning.
Right.
Yeah, because I want somebody who's creative. Well, how do you get to be creative? You already know everything.
Right.
The point,
And you're just checking boxes off of the to-do list
right?
instead of actually thinking how to get the job done.
Well, innovation doesn't happen when
Right.
you use knowledge that everybody has.
Yeah.
If everybody had, like, innovation would stop.
Right.
So-
And there's a big difference between doing the job like you were taught to do the job and being able to recognize ways to improve it and ways to adjust. And oh my gosh, we don't have this data. Like, how do we get it? Like, what do we need to do to get it? And then be the one willing to do what it takes,
Right.
or like work inside of this spreadsheet
Right.
that you get to update the delivery date.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm thinking of a real example.
Oh, yeah.
But like, be willing to be the one that does the
Yeah.
spreadsheet
Yeah.
to update the delivery dates, because otherwise they're not going to update them for us.
Right.
So we have to do it ourselves. Otherwise, we have no idea when Transformers are
Exactly.
going to get here. You
And-
know, like,
and
and we're
coming-
telling people wrong information.
Exactly. And coming full circle, like, I don't know if you remember when we first met, and this is something I learned actually working for the real estate guy, because that was the first time I actually had to hire people and sit in interviews and
Mhm.
stuff. And creativity is really important to me. Like, if I'm hiring somebody to do a job, I want somebody who can do a job creatively.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, if I'm hiring an accountant, I want somebody who's going to maximize what I'm giving them.
Right.
Allocate things properly, just properly, or saying, we could allocate it this way, is not the same as saying, legally I can allocate it this way and it's going to get the most return. That takes a creative mind. It doesn't just take somebody who just understands bookkeeping or tax law. It takes somebody in that understanding to say, we can do this, let's do it this way.
Yeah. Here's why we're going to do it this way instead
Right.
of the other way. And, you know, yeah, last year you did this on your taxes, but like, we really need to get away from doing that.
Right.
We need to get away from depreciating that car, because now
Right.
we have, like,
I want
you know,
somebody
yeah.
who's coming in and is going to be creative in their problem
Yeah,
solving, because
for
I
sure.
want a level of not just competency,
Right.
but actually a level of competency where they will come in and say, not only can I do this, but I can come up with 5 different ways we could do this.
Exactly.
And in that, they're going to choose the way that's going to best serve our company. And that's what I want from people.
Yeah.
I think most employers are actually pretty easy to please. Some are hard because they're like, all I asked you to do is your job, you know. And these are usually large companies. Usually large companies.
The larger the company gets.
Yeah.
The more narrow your...
Right, predictable success. Like
Yeah.
that book talks about the different stages within a company. And that particular stage, I think, is the most toxic for workers. Because they spend all this time learning. You know, if they go to college and get a degree, they spend all this time learning. And they're a little bit excited, right? Let's say it's engineering. You know, I've done combustion engineering. I'm going to work for Ford, Chrysler, GM, or whoever, and I'm going to get in there and I'm going to innovate. I'm going to do something, and then somebody says, "Just do your job."
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying they do that in those companies. I don't know that for sure.
Yeah.
I'm just using them as an example. You're in this industry. You're excited. You're creative. You want to be in research and development, and then somebody says, "All I asked you to do was this. Why are you doing this other work?"
Yeah.
You know what I want from somebody.
Just crushes your ambition.
Yeah. Well, and I don't want people to be exhausted, but I want people to be like, "Yeah, we could do it this way, or we could do it this way, and here are the reasons why I think this would be better." And now, when I have somebody come in and work for me, I will say, "This is how I want it done. Until you learn this way,
Yeah.
I want you to just watch and listen."
Well, it's crazy how far a hey, thanks for bringing it up. Thanks for thinking that way. Like, I really appreciate that. Here's maybe why we can't do it that way.
Yeah.
Or, you know, whatever. Like,
Right.
hey, keep bringing that stuff to me.
Right.
I can't do that this time with this project, with this situation, but keep thinking like that.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be something that we
Right.
can change.
I had an employer. You know, we're talking about how important was those years when I was working for other employers. My brother was interning in Wisconsin, and he called me and he said, "Why don't you come up here and spend the summer with me?" And I was like, "I don't know." And he's like, "Yeah, come on. I mean, what? You don't have anything going on." I was a teenager. And I was like, "Well, if you find me a job, I'll come on." So he found me a landscaping job. And I started working for this guy. Really great boss. One of my best employers I ever worked for. And I learned actually quite a few things from him, but I remember my brother and I were using his truck, and we were sharing the truck. And he was working out early in the morning, and I told him, "I need the truck by this time so I can be at work on time." Well, he showed up late, like really late, and I pretty much doubled the speed limit getting to work, and I ended up being 5 minutes late. I should have been like a half hour late.
Oh, wow.
And it was really bad. So I showed up, I'm out of breath. I'm like there. I walk up to my boss and he goes, "You're 5 minutes late." I said, "I know, I'm sorry, my brother." He goes, I don't really care why you're late." He goes, "That you need to figure it out. But he said, if you're ever late again, I'll fire you."
Wow.
And some people might say, "Wow, that's really harsh." I was never late again, for one thing. For two, he was always really good to me. Like, I didn't feel like he was saying that just to be like really hard.
Yeah, like
Or
you're
mean.
expendable. Like,
Yeah.
I don't need you. You know.
But like the first day I worked for him, he had some pretty big trucks we were using. We were hauling rocks and stuff in wheelbarrows, and I was jumping in and out of the back of the truck. And he goes, you shouldn't jump out of the truck." He's like, "You're gonna ruin your knees." He goes, "You step out of the truck or let yourself down." But he said, "Don't jump out." I was like, "Okay." I was like, I don't know why it's his business, but whatever. I'll do it. So he's showing care, and then that whole day I'm like, I had a lot of energy. I was young and was pretty fit. And I found out how fit I wasn't doing that job because I can't tell you how many rocks I moved. It was unbelievable. But back and forth, I'm running back and forth on this job, just jogging. And it's a family trait. My dad ran everywhere he went when he was young. And it's not because he was trying to exercise, just energy, right?
Yeah.
So I'm
Got
running
one
back
speed
and
and
forth,
that's
and he goes, Micah, come here, come here. I was like, yeah. He goes, you don't need to run. He's like, I don't need you exhausted at the end of this job and not able to, finish. He's like, I don't need you to run. You're not losing time. Like we're all busy with stuff. Take your time, walk to the truck and get what you need. And he was trying to get me to utilize my energy efficiently throughout the day.
Right.
It was for his benefit, but it was also for mine. And so like there were things I learned from him that were just like, do things in a way that's right. He had a high
consistency, right? Yeah.
He was very perfectionistic in his work. We did things very excellent. He never wanted any kind of danger. He had a very particular way of doing things, and he expected you to do them that way. First day on the job, I go, why do you do this that way? It seems like it'd be more efficient to do it this way. And he turns to me and he goes, I want you to do it my way first.
Yeah.
He's like, this isn't your business. This is mine. He goes, I've been doing this for a very long time. He goes, when you've learned my way and then you have more questions, we'll talk. And I was like, I blushed a little bit, but at the same time, I was like, wow, I didn't even give his chance to try. I'm already trying to fix things.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And that's my nature. But at the same time, I was like, what I learned from him is listen and watch. Keep your mouth shut, which is biblical. Learn something. Then open your mouth and offer a suggestion.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And the different employers, I can point to every single employer I've ever had and say that the things I learned from them made me into who I needed to be when I started a business.
Yeah.
Like I had all the things I needed to do a good job.
Right.
Like
I did the job.
I didn't have the back end of business experience. I didn't know anything about bookkeeping. I didn't know anything. We had a business class at piano tech school, but it was mostly situational business. Like our business is going into people's home and doing things and how to behave appropriately in the home and to make good choices. We did not go over bookkeeping.
Right. Well, and even in college, the courses that you take on accounting are extremely different than the actual day-to-day accounting for a small business.
Right.
Because I can think back to the classes I took, and did good in the first one. Did not do good well in the second one. I was on my way out of college at that point. So
the ADHD debacle, which is can you do school and have ADHD?
Oh man, well it was like can I do school full time and work 50 hours a week at a restaurant and try to be married and try to.
I think that's part of it though. I did the same thing. I struggled because I wanted to work.
Yeah.
Like part of
I wanted to and I had to.
Right.
There was such a mix of like. I wanted to do something. Yeah.
If you're gonna have a kid, like I was obsessed with value, the value of things, what something's worth, what it costs. Like, if you have a kid, like from a young age, I tell people all the time when I was 8 to 10 years old, I had $100 in my wallet. Mm-hmm. People were like, "Why are you carrying a wallet at 8 years old?" I don't know. I thought that's what you do. Yeah. I was born an 80-year-old, and if I broke that $100, I would do everything in my power to get it back up to that amount.
Okay, yeah.
And you don't take a kid like that and you say, hey, you need to go spend the next 20 years with your face in a book.
Right.
They will hate it every minute of it. And I did. Like, I didn't get into reading till after I was already in business. Reading was hard because I was a slow reader. I'm probably dyslexic. I'm for sure have ADHD.
It's just why you're an entrepreneur.
Right.
For probably.
But like
That's why I am.
I couldn't sit for that long.
Yeah.
I would actually get anxiety sitting and trying to read. I'm a slow reader. I'm not getting anywhere fast enough. I didn't mind the content. A lot of times I was interested in what I was reading. It was just, I can't sit down and do this.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until I was in my 20s that I discovered audiobooks and the whole world opened up to me.
Yeah.
I listened to all the classical literature. I started listening to self-help literature and listening to business literature. I couldn't even tell you how many books I've read that way. Through that, I began to appreciate actually sitting down and reading a book, which I do.
Did that kind of contribute to the loving the process of like doing something the right way?
Yeah, I've always, so people will say, are you a details person? And I'll be like, yes and no.
Yeah.
I appreciate details and I want to know everything that's going on. But I do not want to be the person implementing every detail.
Yeah, gotcha.
I can't stand that. I would love to manage somebody who's detailed oriented. That's
Right.
what I like.
Which is kind of like the like where we're gonna go in like future episodes of like the
That is
like
the
what
hardest
is the next
part.
phase up, because
Yeah.
it doesn't always have to be such a gigantic leap, but I mean you climb a ladder one step at a time. I mean
That's the hardest part for me in business is
to like
that,
land the plane.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's like everything from here to here
Yeah.
is really hard for me. I know that if I could getting here, it would be a whole new world for me.
Yeah.
Because I know I'm good at managing people, I should say. I'm good at managing people. I know what needs to be done, but I can't do it myself.
Yeah.
Like,
But yeah, like you get bogged down in trying to do that, and it sidesteps the thing
Right.
that you really should be doing.
right.
And I mean, sometimes that's necessary, and there are seasons for that. I mean, and to not to discourage, like, I hate the advice that, you just got from day one. I mean, you have to just outsource absolutely everything. Like, I mean, I don't believe in that.
Right.
I don't believe in that for me. And so I'm certainly not going
Right.
to like believe in that for somebody else.
Right.
And I think most of the time when the advice is coming from someone who benefits from you making that decision, then it's very difficult for me to like really trust that that's
Right.
the only way to do it.
Yeah,
But that's
I
a
think when
lot of
you're-
what you see. I mean, I even see that in some of the, I guess, outspoken voices around Greenville, and certainly on the big stages, on podcasts and YouTube and whatever. It's when somebody directly benefits from what they're telling you to do.
Yeah.
I just immediately don't trust.
It's a hard sale.
Like, yeah.
I think that, again, this goes back to where we started, which is you need to know yourself.
Right.
I knew coming.
We'll wrap up with this.
Yeah, I knew coming into elevator renovations after previous experience, I knew that the books needed to be clean.
Mm-hmm.
They needed to be clean, and I needed to not have the stress of where things were, where I needed to take them. I knew I didn't want to do taxes. And I decided that we were going to do something on the other end.
Right.
And what led me to you was Facebook. I saw you on Facebook, and you actually mentioned Profit First. And I had read that book, and I was like, that's what I wanted to do. And I was like, we're going to go there, and we're going to do that because I can't set up my books on my own to do it. And so,
well, and you live with like not doing that. You live with either you live with the stress of the daily making those decisions and moving the money and making sure that you're seeing it, or you live with the stress of not knowing how it's going to be paid.
right.
I mean, you get to choose your stress. And that's one of the reasons we started doing this thing is like you get to choose your stress. You get to
Right.
choose what the finish line looks like
Yeah.
based on the decisions you're making
Right.
today.
Yeah.
And based on the decisions that are going to either move, like they're moving a needle forward, and you get to choose which needle you move forward.
Yeah.
And
You get to choose,
yeah,
but you have to be honest. You have to be transparent.
that's right.
And you will outsource something at some point. You have to be humble enough to say, I need this outsourced so that I can do my job.
Yeah,
And,
for sure.
And so I can do it well and be productive
Yeah.
and have a viable company. I need to outsource it. Otherwise, I'll have a mess and I won't be able to. But you don't go to the first person who says, if you do this, you'll get 30% of your business back. You know, that's not necessarily true. Like,
Right, exactly.
you shouldn't be doing it because somebody's trying to sell you on what they're offering you. And certainly if they tell you an amount they'll get back,
Mm. Yeah,
Like-
that's a hard. Yeah,
you can't say that.
there's no. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
no way that. Yeah, there's no way.
You could
anybody
tell somebody
can
this is
predict
how
that.
this will benefit you.
Yeah,
You can spend more time on such and such.
you're
Like,
more likely to get there if you
Yeah.
A, B, and C.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's that's why we're here.
Yep.
I think we're here to walk people through things, but also like get them to a place where hopefully the level of stress, the level of knowledge is not daunting,
Right.
and they can move forward and get some courage. Or I think in some cases have the courage to stay where they're at
Absolutely.
and not buy into the 10x system. The idea that they need to scale so that they can be billionaires. It's like,
Yeah, and if they don't, they're not good enough.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like, no, you need to be content and know your limitations and your boundaries and work within that. You will be most efficient and most productive there.
And if that's what you're shooting for, you'll get there faster
Absolutely.
than just throwing it together.
Yeah, taking that next step. Cool.
All right.
It's fun stuff.
I think we probably hit 3 hours, if you even have.
We don't even need to continue the podcast now.
Goodness gracious.
Where are we at?